Jared, it's Ross Tucker here on the Dan Patrick Show. Great to talk with you. Let's talk about the Warriors. I mean, they're going to break the record now at this point, I would have to think. And I guess my first question, Jared, is just how important is this record in your mind? How big a deal is a regular season record?
Well, thanks for having me, Ross. Great to talk to you. Glad you were tuning into the game yesterday. It seemed like a lot of people were definitely locked in. I think it's important, but it's only important if you go ahead and win a title. You don't want to be known as the greatest regular season in NBA history and then not win a championship. So to follow it up, and also when you take into context all that Steph Curry has done this year, and then the opportunity to win an MVP again, to go maybe win a Finals MVP, and then he's got a chance to go win a gold medal this summer too in the Olympics. It's going to go down as one of the greatest basketball years ever. And, the fact that he may have the best regular season is just remarkable.
So my second favorite sport, Jared, is basketball. I played through high school. Probably could have played, like D3 hoops if I wanted to, but obviously my body type, let's say, was better suited to football than trying to play college basketball. I've never seen anything like them, and maybe I'm only 37. Is there anybody else that anybody even talks about that compares to this guy at this point? Even just watching last night, some of the shots he made, the layups, even when he attacked, I can't remember if it was Danny Green or Kawhi Leonard at the rim. I mean, it is ridiculous. He is so much more than just a shooter.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you didn't ask what my body type was suited for. That's why I talk about the games and not get to play them. Curry is he's not rare to the average human, and I think that's what makes him so likable, is that so many people say, man, that guy kind of looks like me, or, he's not that much taller or not that much bigger than me. I think that, we kind of relate to him in the fact that I would hope people would recognize how talented and how skilled he is and how much hard work he puts in to do the special things he does on the court, Ross. But, you start to hear about the Mark Prices of the world or guys who just weren't that big. Because LeBron, not many people think that they could be LeBron because you're not, 6'8" and 280 pounds. So you can't relate to him. But the one thing that I've kind of cautioned people about this year with Steph Curry, and I think, Ross, you saw a great example of it yesterday, is that, yes, Steph Curry is in the conversation for one of the greatest shooters of all time, but I think part of that takes away from us recognizing how great of a basketball player he is. Will he go down as one of the greats ever? I don't know. He's got to continue this for quite a while for us to get him in that conversation of the Michael Jordans. But what he does as a ball handler, as a distributor, as a driver. You saw yesterday when the Spurs drove him off the three-point line, how he was able to get into the paint and score there and the creativity. And, he's got this rep as being a guy who's not a great defender. And that's just not the case anymore. I mean, not that he's going to be an all-world defender, but I think a lot of it is there's so many other good defenders on his team that he doesn't get asked to take on that responsibility some of the time. He's a very capable defender now, and he's the complete package, and I don't want people to lose sight of that.
Yeah, we're talking with Jared Greenberg of NBA TV. He's a host over there. You can see Jared on 10 Before Tip tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern Time on NBA TV. Here's how I look at it, Jared. LeBron is a physical freak of nature. Michael Jordan, on some level, is a physical Michael Jordan could dunk from the foul line, dude. He had crazy dunks. So he was a physical freak of nature. Those guys are both physical freaks of nature that became very skilled and obviously two of the all-time greats, and even Kobe on some level. To me, Curry is a skilled freak of nature. Like his freakishness is his skills, which makes it so cool because the everyman can at least think in their mind, if I put in enough time, I could have skills like Steph Curry.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. But, you have to understand how hard he does work. And the stuff, I was in Memphis with the team on Saturday night, and I'm going to pick them up again when they return home for Wednesday's game again against Memphis. But what's happening now, and I've seen this a few times covering Warrior games on the road this year, is the crowds of people that come out. It really is turning into what I remember growing up, in the early mid-'90s, going to a baseball game, if Mark McGwire or Barry Bonds or Sammy Sosa or one of these great home run hitters was taking batting practice. And just a show before the show. And that's now Curry, where people are coming out to see the work he puts in, but it's not just for entertainment. The stuff Curry does in pregame and the stuff that he's done to get himself ready in his body to this level of, people talk about what great shape he's in and just the endurance he has. Coaching staff raves about that with Curry. He has worked so incredibly hard that it's paying off now, and it's not just surface level. Like, this guy puts in so much time and just has done so much to get himself to this point where he's the best player in the game right now this year.
Jared, where do you stand on sort of the old school versus new school debate? I've lost track of all the, old heads saying that they would beat this Golden State Warriors 4-0. And look, I told you, I'm 37, right? So I grew up with, the Pistons and the Bulls. I get it. It was a more physical game back then. But watching that game last night, first of all, San Antonio's good too. But watching those two teams go against each other, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying. So every other sport, people get bigger, faster, stronger, and they're in general better now than they were 20 years ago. But basketball, you're trying to tell me that basketball's the one where the teams from 20 years ago are better? I'm not buying it, Jared. Are you?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm kind of the whole get off my lawn thing. It needs to stop. We have this, need to make these comparisons that we can't have an answer to. I get why we do it to a certain extent, but I don't necessarily love it. And I think that it's really unfair just to make it so one-sided because, now the guys would have to. It's always Steph Curry wouldn't be able to play back in the 70s or 80s. Well, guess what now? How do you think the guys in the 70s or 80s would be able to relate to the style of play today? And not that it's easier. And listen, when they were scoring 120 points a game back then, where was the great defense that everybody wants to talk about that was being played, that's not being played now? I just think that it's unfair to do. There's no right way to do it, and I think it takes away from the greatness that's happening in front of us right now. And here's the other part of it too that I want to add. With the 3-point shot, the evolution and the boom that we're seeing, so many people, Curry's on a level that exceeds everything else that's happening. I mean, Curry is 8 3-pointers away from 400. Like, nobody sniffed 300, and Curry's going for 400. And so, yes, there's this evolution where the game is moving outside and guys are taking more of those shots. But Curry has trumped even his own generation in terms of his ability to shoot. So to knock him down a pedestal, I think is just not fair and it's not right. And it's not appreciating greatness. And in 10 years from now, we're going to be like, man, you remember one of the greatest regular seasons in NBA history, and it was Steph Curry and the Warriors?
So, Jared, the next couple of days are about teams jockeying for playoff position and certain teams trying to either make it or they're going home. Tell me why I should care, just in the sense that I feel like the NBA is the sport where the least amount of teams have a legitimate chance to win it. Like, I mean, how many teams could honestly win the NBA title? I mean, 4 or 5. So who gets in as the 7th or 8th seed? Like, this isn't hockey or even baseball or even the NFL. Like, does it really matter whether or not you get the 7th or 8th seed or whether you make the playoffs? Because you tell me how many teams have a legitimate chance to win this thing.
I would say that honestly, I think it's the Warriors or Spurs are on one level, and then I would put a notch below, but if you want to put them in the conversation, I would say the Cavaliers and the Thunder are there because they have the talent, they have the pieces to do it. They haven't shown it consistently throughout the course of the season, but there's certainly a big space between the Warriors and Spurs and the Thunder and Cavs. I put those 4 teams in there that have a shot. Now, listen. Whether it matters to make the playoffs this year as the 7th or 8th seed for these teams, as the average NBA fan, probably it doesn't matter all that much because you're right. If they don't have much of a shot, it's not like baseball where you're counting on a pitcher or hockey you're counting on a hot goaltender. But in terms of how it helps a team grow and a franchise take a major step in the right direction, it does factor in. I mean, you look at a team like the Boston Celtics who got in as a 7 seed last year and were fighting for the 3 seed. In the Eastern Conference playoffs now and what it means for them. And you're right. I wouldn't think Boston has as much of a shot unless there's a massive unforeseen injury to somebody on Cleveland's team. But I still think it means a lot to the growth of the sport and the growth of the game, or each one of these teams as well, to make sure they're taking a step in the right direction. Because very rarely do we see a team just come out of nowhere and win a title. Like the Warriors are a team that have been growing for 5 years, and yeah, they won it last year, and they're the favorite to repeat again. But it started a couple of years ago with them getting to the second round, and nobody really saw that coming. And then, the next year, getting to the first round and losing, and then kind of building to where they are today, and obviously Mark Jackson, then over to Steve Kerr. So in the NBA, it's all about I hate to use this word because so many GMs use it and makes you want to throw up sometimes, but the process of becoming a champion, and we've seen the fruits of the labor of the Golden State Warriors, and now, they're putting together a dynasty right before our eyes.
Yeah, I think that's a very fair point. Jared, appreciate the time.
Appreciate it. And thanks for you guys giving a shout out there to Hofstra. I love that. I know your guys in the studio are doing that on purpose. I love it.
All right.
The Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings on Audience.